I've been scarred and I've been bruised. I have learned just what to do. I need to leave my past behind me. I need to look to the future. No matter what will come, no matter what I've done, I know just what to do. And that's all because of you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to your favorite thing on a Tuesday. I am in such a good mood today. We've got such amazing news. We have reached 3,000 subscribers. 3,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. And as promised, we're actually doing a giveaway to celebrate our 3,000 subscribers. I've got a list of the lucky people that we are using to celebrate. I want to thank everyone that has played some kind of role in growing the channel, be it passive, be it active. It's hard to pick up the passive people, but the feedback tells me that there's people that I don't even know that in their own platforms are sharing the work that I do, are recommending verbally in their circles. Even when someone who's active tells me who recommended the channel to them, it's likely to be someone that isn't visible on the channel. So they are present, not necessarily visible. I appreciate all of you. You have helped me so much in terms of elevating my courage, encouraging me to continue, but most importantly, informing my, I don't want to say value, but I suppose negotiating power. When you are sitting in certain tables and pricing certain things, you are able to list evidence. This is my reach, this is my engagement, this is what I do, this is the value that I add if I take this on, and therefore this is how I will price it. And with that pricing, I get to pay for the things that are big and I'm building. So it's not a small YouTube channel. You are the blueprint and the trail to something so much bigger. I didn't want to do a competition of some kind. I genuinely wanted to give something to you without making you work for it. Over time we'll do competitions and whatever, but I said to the team, I just want to give something to them. I don't want them to have to do anything. I obviously can't thank all of you, so it was literally random, that pick a random number of the video, and in that video we pick a random number and we count how many comments and we pick that person, and we've picked 5 people that are going to get the Yonza Silk combos. Guys, listen, I don't think there's a brand I support with confidence more than the Yonza Silk brand. There is a male on the list, so I suppose they're just going to have to give it to the ladies in their lives. But the product is so, you know, when you walk to those stores where you're like, the quality is just so quintessential and classy, where you're like, I don't know what about it, but there's just intentional effort that is reflected in them, in the end product and the output. And that's the package that I always get. My favorite thing about the company is, one, that they don't treat me like a return customer. It's not like over family. It comes packaged at the premium quality all the time, consistently, at the turnaround times that are promised, you know, in the brand page. So when I gift people, I'm confident that abazofika bengonelisekanga, and if they were to ever make a mistake, which they haven't done, I would be so comfortable thinking it was an oversight. That's how diligent they are. That's how much effort is reflected in there. I'm not even naturally a fan of dogs, but I've been a fan of their own and pillowcases for my skin and whatever. It's a beautiful product. Even the people that aren't getting it today, please do give their page a visit and show them the grace that you've shown me. But this is coming to these people that I'm going to list now before we get to the content of the video. So the first person that is getting it is Oli Masoka. The second person is Kumutso Silala. Kumutso, please forgive me if I didn't pronounce your surname correctly. It's Sisipom Kutukana. Anele Siotula. Anele is the brother on the list. I'm sorry to the other gents. Because you appeared only once. And Pili Swakatali. Those are the 5 people that are getting that. Please DM us your addresses. The delivery has been paid for, but we need your addresses. Anele, even if you're going to gift it to someone else, we need you to be the claimant, and then you can disseminate it as you see fit. And everyone else, the giveaways will continue as we grow. The criteria will be different. You guys can recommend, but from my heart to yours, thank you so much. I'm also going to take a break around mid-year, so We will be on screen. I think we'll shoot 4 videos today that will last us up until mid-May. So the 11th of May is likely to be the last Tuesday before I take a break for school. I did say, guys, a surprise. I did say mid-year I'm going to take a break. It's normally crunch time for my submission Gela Klesha. And normally it's mid-year after doing this since the beginning of the year. So it's a good time to take a break, and we will be back in a couple of weeks again. So as the weeks go by, I'm going to say when in terms of committing to particular dates, but I will take a break to push schoolwork. Those are the only 2 things on housekeeping before we get to the content of the day. And as you can see on the screen, today's video is about anxiety. I know this is a thing you guys have been asking for. Please talk about anxiety. Please talk about anxiety. We did depression last year, and depression and anxiety are almost the psychiatry evil twins like this. They always appear together. And I know the word is loosely thrown around now, but also because it's become more common, especially in light of COVID-19. People are generally more anxious. The threat is not just perceived anymore, it's actually real. It's there, and the evidence of its destruction has been seen and felt by many. So we're talking about anxiety in general. And for those people that are like, what do you actually mean? We're talking about the general feeling of nervousness, apprehension. By definition, if you look anyway, anxiety will be loosely defined as an anticipation of threat. So this constant worry that something bad may happen. It varies depending on the type of anxiety that you have, but we're not focusing on that today. But there's a large cohort of people that are just in constant worry and apprehension, that they're always scared. You'll see for some people, it's around self-image. I don't look right, I don't have smart things to say, and they will overthink that when I'm about to go into a crowd, they don't know how to position themselves around certain spaces. They overthink everything. Most people are generally nervous in strange circumstances. The difference between regular fear and the apprehension that comes with anxiety is the frequency and the impairment of functioning. Most people can be nervous and still continue, but people battling with anxiety, it's normally paralyzing, that they can't continue with the thing that they're intending to do with ease. It's distressing, it's uncomfortable, if not at all completely paralyzing. They either avoid it or the distress just takes over and they go into panic as a result. Panic attacks are not uncommon in people that suffer from anxiety problems. And obviously it's on a spectrum, and depending on duration and severity, we may define it as an anxiety disorder. But the feeling on its own, it ranges from normal caution, worry, and nervousness. And then it gradually leans more to the anxiety side of things. And when really severe, then it classifies to be called a disorder. And you'll see for most people, it presents as physical symptoms actually, where it's heart palpitations, where they're like, my heart is beating really, really fast. A little bit of sweaty palms, where they're like, not dripping sweat, but there's something moist about my hands or whatever. Nausea in some people when it's really, really bad. There's some dizziness where you feel like I'm processing so many things. My thoughts are flighty that I can't even think straight. For people that are phobic, it's like paralyzing panic, that they can't move, or they experience shortness of breath, and normally, worst case scenario, they blank out as well. So those are the typical things. They don't have to appear as a group. For some people, for kids, it will be like a tummy ache, sometimes bedwetting, etc., etc. But the principle underlying is apprehensive. I'm scared, even if I can't pinpoint it what exactly. I'm really, really scared, and I feel outweighed by whatever is out there. It can be real, it can be perceived, but that's normally the long and short of anxiety, that you versus the threat feels bigger. And therefore, you're really, really terrified of the impact of the threat on you. It's got massive limitations for functioning. So this is why we cannot talk about anxiety. I encourage people that battle with anxiety to really partner up with a therapist. And of course, you can rely on pharmacology as well. It's wonderful for symptom relief, especially if you need to carry out tasks, especially also the physical symptoms, because you'll see things like nausea, battling to sleep, the heart palpitations, the shortness of breath. Meds may help you experience relief from the symptoms, but anxiety isn't only physical. There's also a very cognitive part of it. This fear, this analysis you've made of the threat, that may need psychology. So the combination of pharmacological treatment and psychological treatment is normally a winning combo to treat anxiety problems. And you'll see typically in therapy, depending on the nature of your presentation, you might be focusing on things like reducing the avoidance behaviors. Abantu aba anxious, bayayibaleka le nto ibenza anxious, because that makes sense, right? If it's bringing you so much distress, don't do it. So they opt out of brilliant opportunities because bayayibaleka, or presenting to the opportunity so distressing that they can't tolerate it. Then they avoid certain things. This is especially true for people that have been traumatized, where they are not imagining the anxiety that particular thing caused them harm in the past, and therefore to them it makes sense that I avoid ever dealing with that thing again. Avoidance obviously brings you some reward, because you don't encounter the distress, but it never exposes you to the opportunity to renegotiate safety with that particular thing, especially if it was just a once-off isolated incident. When you avoid it, and when you keep on encountering it, you desensitize yourself, and the distress gradually gets less and less and less as you are exposed to that thing. But if you avoid it, you don't have a chance for the exposure. So therapy does those things, exposes you to the threat, perceived or real. It sometimes helps with increasing coping resources, because there's something about preparedness or lack of preparedness in anxiety, where you feel like, I'm not ready. As a result, anxiety is riddled by a lot of what ifing. What if this happens? What if they hate me? What if I say something stupid? After you've said something stupid, what if they now think I'm an idiot? What if they never want to chill with me again? What if they don't reply to my email? What if? So therapy increases your coping resources, that even if the what if happens, you feel adequately prepared to deal with the what if. So that's why people go to therapy. People go to therapy to learn relaxation techniques, especially the panicky kind of people. How do you navigate your own panic attack? Because sometimes when you're in panic attack, you literally feel like you're going to die, and you really at that moment can't tell between a panic attack and a heart attack, because your heart is racing, your chest is closing down, you are seeing blurry, and you are not sure at that 1 second you aren't going to die, and that can feel incredibly traumatizing. So sitting with a therapist and navigating how to relax and beat a panic attack gradually teaches you that, one, you aren't going to die, and you stop fearing the panic-inducing situations, because should a panic attack happen, you are prepared to deal with it. Mindfulness is another thing people focus in therapy, because anxiety is very future driven. It's like the threat is about to come, meaning you're acknowledging that the threat hasn't happened yet. You're actually not under threat right now. So mindfulness teaches you how to be active in the present moment, that yes, it may fail, yes, your what ifs are plenty, but none of them have actually materialized at the moment. And I suppose just partnering up with a person that makes you feel safe, and you can learn that the world is safe again, and you can cognitively exchange material, so your thoughts start thinking differently, and the meaning you assign to things are different, and you're not making associations between that thing and threat. And this happens with talk therapy, where the therapist is borrowing you their own language, that perhaps think of it this way, perhaps look at it this way and this way, and maybe you don't view it as threatening anymore, or you view the threat as being not insurmountable, somewhat survivable. So please do go to therapy to rehearse your what ifs. Sit there and imagine, what if it would happen? How would I deal with it? Role play and negotiate and explore coping resources, with someone else. Anxiety makes things difficult, work difficult, school difficult. If you are persistently flighty and feeling under threat, it makes it so hard to focus on other things. The thought hijacks it, and it's recurrent, and it's intrusive, and it takes over everything else, and you think about it on and on and on again, and that makes thinking about other things like the content you should be studying, talking to other people, really, really difficult. So it paralyzes most people. It hijacks beautiful futures that could potentially happen, because people are scared. And we've spoken about this. Anxiety can be adaptive. It's not always a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing. It alerts you to danger. It tells you the stakes are high. It alerts you to possible rejection. So work on the genesis of your anxiety. If it's trauma, let's work around renegotiating safety. Again, understanding that the incident was isolated, decreasing avoidance techniques, increasing your coping resources, minimizing the level of distress the thought brings to you by hosting it imaginally, experiencing the distress in the presence of someone that's safe, and you see the distress doesn't overwhelm you, so you're not scared of it. And if it's phobias, you'll try different things. If it's GAD, you'll try different things. If it's obsessive compulsive kind of problems, it's up to the therapist to diagnose what nature of anxiety you've got. It's a pandemic now, so it's natural that there is threat. It's visible. You're not completely safe from it 100%, so people are more anxious than usual. So do partner up with these comforting and soothing strategies to perhaps try and manage your anxiety, that it doesn't happen frequently to a level where it impairs your functioning. But when it's severe, and especially when it presents with comorbidities like depressive episodes, it might be wise to start talking to a professional and you gather a toolbox to fight anxiety, because it's brutal. It's brutal because it's also physical, so it's not something you can just host in your thoughts and hide. It normally shows itself. I want you to enjoy your peer relationships. You're not always under threat. I don't want your brain to overplay it. Yes, the threat may be there, but sometimes we really overestimate how much threat we are actually under. And perspective helps us narrow it down. And once it's narrowed down, when you square up against it, you feel like I can manage. And that's the place I want you to get at. That yes, I can't completely avoid threat, but if it were to happen, I'd likely survive. Or when it presents itself, these are the tools that I can use to fight back. So put something in your toolbox. And for the people that are just like, oh my God, I'm not pretty, I'm not wise enough, I'm not smart enough, why would people find value in the things that I say? Or when they say it, they go and overthink it 100 billion times. Why would you say something like that? You're so stupid. Oh my God. You know, anxious people will go home, on top of gathering the courage to say it, after they've said it, they go home and overplay it over and over again. What if they, 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 what if they? You know, and it's really, really unfair, you know, to constantly be in that state. For most people, fear visits, it's not a permanent resident. But for anxious people, it kind of stays there all the time, and you just deserve a better quality of life. So I hope I've started to introduce a bit of an understanding of a name to experiences. Where is the tummy ache suddenly coming from when something is needed? Pay attention to your self-sabotage, where you like value sabotage so that you don't need to face that. Your avoidance behaviors. Learn how to deal with your panic situations. But most importantly, I wish you can get to a place of understanding different isn't always dangerous. And actually, the older you grow, you are underplaying your capacity to deal with danger. So even if danger were to happen, you'd probably survive. And if you're not sure, go learn how to survive. Yeah, so it's meant to be very introductory, and if you want us to unpack specific types of anxiety disorders, we can do that. But I hope we've managed to introduce some kind of feeling, especially to the people with low self-esteem. It ties in like this, anxiety, low self-esteem, because you just don't feel up to scratch with life's demands. You're not vulnerable to life situations. You're actually more capable than what you believe. And I hope you can partner up with people that teach this to you until you can believe it for yourself. So yes, winners, DM us your addresses, and thank you so much, guys, for growing with us, co-traveling with us, and I can't wait to continue doing this with you. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you next Tuesday.